Hey guys, welcome to the videos on cognitive psychology. During some of the study groups, a few people asked me if I could maybe upload my slides to Blackboard. So the problem with uploading slides to Blackboard is that each of the teachers makes his or her own slides based on the templates provided to us by the department. So, rather than just spending my time trying to convince the department to upload the templates and the guidelines given to us as teachers, I decided to do something a little bit more interesting. I will be uploading videos to this account pertaining to each of the four practicals, and maybe I'll add one or two additional videos relating to our topics. And also because it's not on Blackboard or within the context of a classroom, I can speak a little bit more freely about the material itself. So these videos are technically not, quote, official material provided by the university, but it's more just something that I'm doing to help you guys understand some of the basics of cognitive psychology a little bit better. Because it really is a wonderful field, and I want you to finish this course having the feeling that you genuinely learned something about cognitive psychology and about psychology in general, something that you'll be able to apply later on in your career, regardless of what you actually end up doing. So, cognitive psychology. What is it about? The word cognition comes from the word cognoscere in Latin, meaning to know. So, in short, cognitive psychology is basically the psychology of how the brain acquires knowledge and uses knowledge to produce behavior. And this acquisition and use of knowledge requires cognitive processes. So, we acquire knowledge about the world, for example, through our senses, through perception. Our senses take in information, and some cognitive process might then select the interesting, relevant, arousing information from this continuous stream of sensations. And we might then use the relevant information to give some kind of response. Or we might store the information for later use. We could take the information and transform it, manipulate it, apply it strategically to solve some kind of problem or puzzle, or to achieve some kind of certain goal or outcome. So this use of information and cognitive processes to reach a certain outcome can be viewed very broadly. After all, a lot of things can be considered information, and a lot of things can be considered goals and outcomes. The simplest of examples is that you have some form of sensory experience, which we consider your information, and because of that sensory experience, you now want to achieve some sort of goal. For example, you may experience hunger, and because of that experience, you decide to go eat something, right? But this works on different levels as well. For example, learning to play an instrument also involves getting information from your senses in order to reach the goal of playing a song. Winning at chess involves information about the board and about strategies, and has the goal of winning the game. For a child with social anxiety, the goal of making friends and having simple conversations can be very difficult because they have problems processing social information. Treating a patient involves getting information from the patient through diagnosis and continuously throughout the treatment process in order to eventually successfully achieve the goal of healing the patient. So in other words, cognition is basically everywhere. And this is especially true today in a world of big data and the ubiquity of information in all shapes and sizes. So the field of cognitive psychology, again, is concerned with how this information and how this knowledge about the world is gained, selectively attended to, stored in memory, retrieved, and internally manipulated, and obviously also where all of these processes can go wrong. So these processes can take place within a lab rat running through a maze, within a child learning to walk and talk, within a person trying to focus on a specific conversation in a loud bar or at a party, or even within a robot that is trying to navigate a collapsed building after some kind of disaster in order to find survivors so that it can signal the rescue team where to go. Cognition takes place within a person suffering from depression, and a lot of research is dedicated to figuring out how the cognitive processes are affected within clinical populations. Cognitive processes also take place in people who are deaf or blind. And here as well, a lot of research and a lot of resources are dedicated to figuring out how deaf cognition works and how blind cognition works and what the brain does in order to compensate for the lack of certain cognitive processes by adapting different cognitive processes. So because of all of this, cognitive psychology is arguably perhaps the most dominant paradigm in psychology today. Cognitive psychology has a very, very wide reach. So whether you want to be a therapist eventually, whether you want to work for some kind of marketing agency, whether you want to become a researcher, a social worker, it really doesn't matter what you want to do eventually. You will always require some form of knowledge on cognitive psychology. So, here's how these videos are structured. I start off giving my general talk on the topic for each of the sessions as usual. Then we'll go through some of the material relating to what's in the syllabus and the experiments that you guys did in the practicals. And finally, we'll take a look at some of the deeper questions at the end of each chapter in the syllabus. So it's up to you to decide which of these sections you actually want to watch. I just hope that they're informative somehow, and enjoy.